because DevOps is a completely practitioner-based movement. It is created by practitioners like us and for practitioners, and it is also experience-based movement. So what works for you may not work for me. So it is a very, very context-based movement as well, right? And that's what DevOps is all about. Now, we talked about why do we need it. We also talked about the story, and we're going to go back to the organizations, agile organizations, and why they are successful. And the successful, if you really look at it, even if there are two different stories that I talked about, or you might have heard of many other stories related to DevOps, what is very common is the successful organizations are able to change fast. The agility is their inherent sort of property that is quite common in every single successful organization that you have. And agility is equal to the pace of change typically, right? And generally, when the organizations change, when they respond to the customer needs, when they change their software delivery, what they really come up with is some sort of a deployment, right? So that has a technical component to it. So when you want to make some changes, when you want to release some application, different type of systems delivery, you are actually making some deployment, applying some changes, and that change is what was creating this chronic conflict, because even though your development organization was ready for the change by implementing agile, your operations was still not ready for it, because every change also introduces a risk. Because only when you change, right, you might have something broken. And ops didn't want to break it very often, because if ops was not sort of ready for it, or they were not using all these automation tools at that point of time, and that's when this conflict started, right? So if you wanted, if I have to define DevOps, this is how my definition would be, right? So DevOps offers a path to reduce the risk of change while still achieving the rapid pace of it, right? And how do you do that? Is through the principles, practices, and the tools that we're going to talk about from here onwards, right? And that is exactly what DevOps is all about. It's the path, and since it is a path, it can be a different path. The goal is same. The goal is to organize, to move faster. Goal is to have a successful organization, but the path will be different. It's like religion, right? So your religion may be different than mine, but ultimate goal is the same, right? And that's what DevOps is. And that's why you see so many, or you might hear different interpretation of DevOps, different paths that people take, different tools that people talk about. And but the metrics remain same. And if you want to measure the success of DevOps, it depends on the changes that you're making and the time to change, right? And that's the reason, if you've heard of, or if you've looked at Puppet Labs DevOps survey of 2016, that's what they talk about. So their metrics to measure that is to lead time to change, so how fast can you change is what they try to measure. The second metric is the mean time to recover. So if you screw up something, if you have a release which fails, how fast can you recover is the second metric, right? The third is the frequency of deployments, how fast you can deploy, and the change failure rate. So how many failures you introduce when you make changes, because that's what you should be minimizing, right? And that's what they found out. The successful organizations which are agile, have 200 times more frequent deployments. At the same time, they have 3 times lower failure rate, right? So when you're moving fast, you generally introduce more failures. It's opposite here, right? So, and those are contrasting goals, and that's what DevOps allow you to achieve, to move fast while reducing the failures, and you all can also achieve like shorter lead times and 24 times faster recovery from failure. The other metric that important here is the rework, unplanned work and rework. And you introduce rework when you are actually introducing the defects. So when you have defects, you spend a lot of time fixing bugs rather than doing some productive activities, right? And that's what we talk about when we talk about the unplanned work and the rework. And this is what DevOps actually did. So Agile talked about the planning, coding, testing, and the release. And DevOps encompasses the operations side of things, including the deployments and so on and so forth.